The question of the day: could Bloodborne work as a movie? Let's be honest, there have been countless crappy video game adaptations over the years, but what I really want to talk about and explore is the question, would Bloodborne work as an adaptation? I'm sure I'm not the only one who has considered such a concept, with Bloodborne's world being what it is, with the intricate lore and fascinating characters and beautiful design. Well, the answer that I've sort of come up with at first is maybe, under the right circumstances, if handled very carefully. But let's explore. There are a few things that we have to consider first up. Number 1, marketability. Number 2, format. And number 3, story. First off, who would it even appeal to? Obviously, you've got the fans of Bloodborne, as well as Dark Souls fans, and then fans of dark fantasy in general. And then secondary would be those who are interested in period dramas or period shows, or even shows that have supernatural properties to them. No pun intended, I think shows like Supernatural have definitely garnered serious success, even though I haven't seen the show in question. And similarly, shows like Taboo show that the Victorian grimy aesthetic is achievable and does resonate with a lot of people. Additionally, shows like Game of Thrones, RIP Season 7, let us know that people are willing to give themselves over to vibrant fantasy worlds with many internal rules and concepts that require time and dedication and understanding to fully get a grasp of. So the market is there, but you might notice that I'm giving more examples related to television versus movies. Well, that's because basically I believe that Bloodborne would be much more difficult to adapt as a film rather than a TV show, and I'll explain why. The film industry has become increasingly consumed over the last 10 years or so by international corporate interests, and they have a distinct focus on creating universes. Universes have time and time again over the last little while proven that they are massive, massive sources of success if handled correctly. Universes that are already known to the public, and they can be used to tremendous effect internationally. And an obvious example of this would be the Marvel Cinematic Universe that no doubt all of us are familiar with at this point. Basically, studio financiers and executives feel a lot safer investing in universes that already have a distinct, almost zealous fanbase in some instances, knowing that any content released in this fashion will be immediately and almost always positively received. Projects that have more of a risk factor to them might cause people to get cold feet about investing in them. A property like Bloodborne would definitely be a little bit more difficult to get adapted, and it's very likely that those with the money to actually fund the building and designing of a vibrant and dazzling world would, step out. They would wonder why they're investing in this, since they don't really know it as well as the fans do. Even though we know it's great, it might not resonate so easily with someone who's about to, put their skin in the game, so to speak. This is why I believe that Bloodborne would excel, both in practicality and storytelling, as a television series with 6 to 8 episodes per season. A show that would allow the right amount of time for the viewer to become immersed in the world of Yharnam, to understand how it works, how things fit together, and so they get an understanding of the lore in a general sense. A film, I believe, would not do this as effectively, due to the number of things that would have to be explained. That would create a need for exposition-style dialogue, which is considered a pretty cheap form of storytelling, unless you were hammering point after point after point throughout the first act, and we're relying on just a lot of really smart design work. But I still think a television series would be more effective at conveying this sort of information. To be honest, it all depends on how the story is told, so let's explore this. Over the last year or so, I've written a 45 or so page script of a pilot episode, you could say, for a TV show based in the world of Bloodborne. If you're interested, I could make another video talking about it, but as a quick gestalt, it would be called The First Vicar, detailing Lawrence's rise up through Bergenworth to his eventual fall and damnation. It allows for the build-up of characters like Gurman, Willem, Carol, Mikolash, Maria, and so on and so forth. Things that we would love to see, or things I could at least say I'd love to see in a cinematic format. I definitely think that this sort of story would fit better within television, and would really allow the time to delve deep into the moral quandaries of the Healing Church, for instance, and how things may have turned out differently. But let me know what you think of that in particular. That's just my point. There would be time for more action-orientated set pieces as well, like the burning of Old Yarnum, the executioner's assault on Canehurst Castle, the massacre at the fishing hamlet. So there's a lot of variety to be had. It wouldn't just be, scenes of people talking and discussing eldritch knowledge and, monstrous horrors and beasthood and things like that. It would allow for some definite action to occur as well, which I'm sure, that being the crux of the game and all, we'd all like to see, put into a live action style of storytelling. In terms of a traditional film format, I sometimes think that a horror style film set on the night of the hunt with Ludwig leading a team of beast hunters through Yharnam would be quite enjoyable, with one by one being killed off over time. It'd definitely be more of a blow by blow action horror flick, but could be fun nonetheless. Out of the two though, I definitely think that the television format would work better. In the past, movie adaptations of games have failed predominantly due to the fact that they lean too heavily on their inspiration as a game, or how they try to inject literal aspects of the gameplay into the movie. The story would have to be supported and strengthened by the characters themselves, as well as the interesting lore that surrounds Bloodborne. I believe that this is the only way that such a thing could work competently. But those are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think. If you have any amazing, really cool, interesting ideas for how Bloodborne could be adapted, it doesn't even have to be a TV or show or a movie. It could be a book or a comic book series or something like that. But yeah, let me know down in the comments. I'm getting back into the flow of making videos again, so if you have any suggestions about what I can talk about next, let me know. Until next time.